Just like all other African communities, the Kamba held music and dance to a very high esteem. A look into this community's music may open your eyes to how important music was to the Kamba of Kenya. In case you do not know the Kamba, let me introduce them to you. The Kamba are a tribe of the Bantu-speaking people that are living in Kenya. Although recent years have seen the people of Kenya relocate to different parts of the country, the Kamba indigenously inhabited the eastern part of Kenya, especially the present-day Kitui, Makueni, and Machakos counties. The Kamba had 5 types of dances, namely the Mbeni, Mwasa, Kilume, Kesanga, and Dule. Their songs included Mayo, which was sung during marriage and directly translates to cries. The other was Mbathi Siawea, and it translates to work songs. These songs were sang by members of the society during work. Mbathi Sia Kevalo were other types of songs that I will discuss later in the video, and finally Miale. Miale was sung by all the different age groups of the community and were sung at big ceremonies, for example, weddings. For the last part of this video, I will analyze these Kamba dances and songs. It is also important to note that there were Mbathi Sia Nzaiko, that translates to circumcision songs. These were sung during circumcision. The most significant dance of the Kamba people was the Kilume dance. It had 4 different categories based on the spirits that possessed the singers and the dancers. For the Kilume dance, the dancers wore iron bangles, necklaces, and anklets to produce sound that followed the rhythm of the dance. Categories of Kilume were the worship Kilume, therapeutic Kilume, cleansing Kilume, and initiation Kilume. After birth, elderly women would perform worship Kilume, cleansing Kilume, and initiation Kilume. Worship Kilume was to thank God for the delivery. Cleansing was done 14 days after the delivery and was to incorporate the mother and the child into the community. The initiation Kilume was used to welcome the child into its new home. Kilume dance was also performed during weddings. During weddings, the categories of Kilume performed were worship and initiation, to plead with God to bless the marriage and to initiate the couple into their new stage of life. Kilume was also performed after burial ceremonies to cleanse the bereft family. The dance was not rigorous, and the dancers faced the ground to symbolize their sorrow and to avoid disturbing the spirits. Finally, Kilume was performed at different religious ceremonies. The dancers would perform during prayer ceremonies when need arose, for example, in the case of droughts and during Thanksgiving ceremonies. The second form of dance was the Ndule dance. This dance was exclusively performed after circumcision. It was left for the unmarried yet circumcised young people. The instruments used were exclusively 4 drums and 3 whistles. A session took 15 minutes before the young people rested and started another session later. The dance was done in pairs. While the young men jumped and somersaulted in the air, the young women swung their waists and shoulders. This dance could potentially earn one a life partner. The third dance was the Mbeni, which was performed by the unmarried. It was performed at wedding ceremonies. The dance was to acknowledge that the unmarried had lost their friends. As a married couple, the groom and the bride would not interact freely with the unmarried as they had done before. The dance was not monitored and was seen as a way for the young people to get spouses. The fourth dance was the Kisanga and was solely a Thanksgiving dance. It was performed after a bounty harvest. It was among the few dances that were performed by all the members of the communities together. The dance could also be performed after winning a war. During the celebration, the Kamba would sacrifice a goat. Finally, the Mwasa dance. Mwasa did not have a specific dance motion. It was mainly music produced by 2 drums, one large one and one small one. It was beat when elders drank their beer and they would occasionally vibe to it. In the zone of Kamba songs, the Mayo songs were songs that were sung during a wedding by unmarried girls. The girls directed their sadness to the parents of the bride, noting that they were lonely now that their friend was married. Mbathi Siawea or work songs did not include any accompanying instruments. Rhythm was created by the tools that they were using, such as axes and pangas. These songs would include encouraging each other to work hard or mocking the lazy people. Badisianzaiko or circumcision songs were sung during circumcision. Although these songs could be sung by women, the women were not allowed to see the initiates, and therefore only the unmarried youths danced to the songs. Badisia Kisalo were songs that were often accompanied by instruments such as drums. For Kisalo, dance and body movements were compulsory. There are different types of Kisalo, so if you would like me to dive deeper, please comment down below. There were also some forms of Kisalo that did not have accompanying music instruments. Finally, the Miale were songs that were sung at big ceremonies. Miale was sung by people of all ages and genders. Miale often were poetic and had a deeper meaning than the words the artist spoke. These songs were not seasonal or occasional. They were therefore sung throughout the year and everywhere except at funerals. We cannot conclude music among the Kamba without mentioning music as a means of communication and as a healing process. As a means of communication, the Kamba used the drums referred to as ngoma in the real dialect to pass messages in the community. Different drum beats passed various messages. For example, 3 heavy drum beats followed by a short break, usually more than 2 minutes and less than 5 minutes, warned the community of an approaching enemy. A single continuous beat was used to remind the community of a scheduled meeting, and a heavy single drum stroke followed by continuous whistling was a cry for help. For example, if one's house was on fire. For healing, a musical bow referred to as Otawa Mundomwe, translating to a healer's bow, was used. This was done by medicine men treating patients. No other person would play the Otawa Mundomwe.